Co-op owners of 311 East 25th Street are in a months-long standoff with an unhoused couple that's been squatting on their stoop.
We pay a lot of money in taxes. It's the bulk of our building's budget for our small, you know what I mean? And yet we feel like they have more rights to inhabit this corner than we do.
So one of the things that I find absolutely fascinating about the city of New York, and honestly any progressive city that is dealing with the consequences of protecting homelessness and homeless people's rights to destroy everything above all else, is that a lot of times these particular types, and by the way, I'm making assumptions about how this guy looks. It just so happens he fits the profile of your average Zoran Mamdani Democratic primary voter, are totally fine with this when it's an abstract idea. When it's, oh, protect the homeless, they're innocent Beba Angel Aladdins, they didn't do nothing wrong, and it's really cruel and really terrible for the police to arrest them for crimes of disorder, because in reality, it shouldn't be a crime just to be a poor. Now, of course, these beliefs are only allowed to exist in the abstract. This is why they're often described as luxury beliefs, because what actually happens, and we see this nearly every time, when these people are confronted with the consequences of progressive policies, they realize how backwards and asinine it actually is. And a perfect example of this person finally getting it is him saying, hey, it's like the homeless drug addicts, the people who are throwing trash all over this block, have more rights to be here than I do. And that doesn't make any sense, because I'm providing value and tax revenue to this city, an insane amount of value and tax revenue to this city. So why should my rights be subordinated to those who break society norms and who are making everybody's life worse? And this is exactly 100% dead on accurate, and I hope he takes these ideas into the voting booth with him and picks any other candidate but Zoran Mamdani, because this will only get significantly worse if he is elected. And this is what we're going to talk about today. This situation that this property owner and this neighborhood finds themselves in due to Democratic policy that not only enables this behavior, but it protects it. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Since February, Lisa Palumbo and Mark Sterling have documented how their home has turned into a homeless camp.
Initially, they set it up on the cobblestone, and then once the police told us that if we put up private property signs, they aren't allowed over there.
It grew from an umbrella to a tarp to shipping pallets to mattresses. It grew into an actual house.
So a long time ago, in a New York City that should be far, far away from the minds of today's New Yorkers, these problems used to be way more prevalent across the city. In the 60s, 70s, and 80s, this mindset took over that homeless people, they're innocent Beba Angel Aladdins. Honestly, genuinely, these people are poor, and it's really cruel, really sad, and really terrible if we use the police department in order to enforce public order crimes against them, because it just shouldn't be a crime to be poor in the city of New York. In addition to that, you also had a bunch of different people who never cared about fiscal conservatism in the first place ever in their entire lives say that it was actually more expensive to use law enforcement to enforce these public order crimes than just to let them go. So honestly, this is the path forward in every category for what we should do for these homeless individuals. And this was the case in the city of New York up until William Bratton ended up becoming the head of the transit police and started enforcing public order crimes in the train system. And we ultimately ended up discovering that that enforcement reduced serious violent crimes in the transit system, because what you ultimately ended up discovering was that disorder increased the propensity of crime. If something looks more crime-ridden, like people aren't taking care of it, then people who are criminals will be drawn to that location, and a lot of these individuals who don't care about the little rules of society end up having active warrants, and getting them off the streets through this mechanism can help remove the dangerous element from the city of New York. And this held all the way up until Bill de Blasio was the mayor of the city of New York, and then he started pulling back on all this stuff. And of course, you had statewide bail reform, reform, statewide less is more, statewide raise the age, and all these other different progressive criminal justice reforms. And guess what? We are now right back at where we were in terms of the homeless making an absolute mess of the city of New York. And all of these people pretend like there's no solution. And I'm talking about the people in government. And now the police have to tell people that they can't clear this up, but if they put private property signs up, then maybe they could move them slightly to the side of where their current encampment actually is.
Mattresses, pillows, furniture, partitions, and tents have popped up periodically over 4 months. She says by the same two people.
They do drugs, they drink, so there's liquor bottles all over the place. Syringes.
So first of all, the local affiliate blurring these individuals is ridiculous. It is absurd. They definitely shouldn't do this. But look at the garbage. Look at the debris that they're putting up on the sidewalk. And I'm going to tell you something as a resident of the city of New York that regular, ordinary people have to deal with. If they put out their garbage cans too early in the evening before it actually hits dark on garbage night, which is you will be faced with a bunch of tickets. Sanitation will come after you. If you put out an unwrapped mattress on the curb of the streets because it could rain and get absorbed in the mattress, thus making it too heavy for the garbage men to move it, that is also a fine. If you put out an air conditioner or something improper on the proper day, again, you can face a series of tickets, multiple consequences for doing so, and oftentimes it is the property owner that ends up facing those consequences due to the fact that they are improperly disposing of debris. Now, of course, for whatever reason, if you're a homeless person and you're collecting all that garbage in front of somebody else's property, there are no tickets. There is no consequences. Sanitation isn't going to come after you because all of a sudden you have God-tier rights due to the progressive city council, the left-wing democratic governance at the state level, and we're just supposed to accept this. We're just supposed to accept that our taxes and our fees always go up every single year while these people can flout all of the rules, all of the norms of society, and we're supposed to pretend like that's no big deal. We're supposed to pretend like this is acceptable. We're supposed to pretend like they have not been granted God-tier status over us normal people who again have to suffer under the boot of New York City Democrats.
Sterling has seen the people passed out from a suspected drug binge and then is forced to pick up drug vials left behind.
What did I just tell you? What did I just say? Homeless people, God-tier rights, and no consequences, no punishment. If they commit a crime, guess what? They get a same-day automatic release due to New York State bail reform. But the property owners, they are responsible for this area. They could face fines for having these needles and whatnot. They could face civil liability for people tripping over their trash that they put up on this corner for getting poked by needles and whatnot. So this guy is now the unofficial I need to clean up after these homeless people due to the fact that New York City has what a lot of people describe as anarcho-tyranny. Tyranny for the law-abiding, anarchy for the absolute fringe criminals that don't obey the basic rules of our society. Again, one need only ask if it's so wrong and disgusting for the needles and whatnot to be in front of the property that you have to find the property owner, that you have to find the condo board, then how come you can't hold the people accountable who are actually trashing the property, especially when they call the police and the police say they are powerless to remove these people? So essentially, you are perpetually on cleanup duty after these thugs, after these criminals, because that's what New York City just wants to be a thing. That's what they want to do. And again, a lot of people describe this as anarcho-tyranny. And by the way, Zoran Mamdani, who is a defund the police type, is somebody who's going to make these problems significantly worse.
He's called 911 and 311 too many times to count. Since 24-hour security is too pricey, they recently upgraded the security system and caught the duo dumping trash in front of the building on Monday. While the city has responded with police, homeless outreach, and sanitation, once it's cleared out, they just come back.
The cops come and very pleasantly say, you need to move or we're going to have to arrest you. So it's just constantly like mowing the lawn.
So right there, I think that's the absolute key, which is they can't afford private security. And this is basically what you have to do if you want to remove homeless people from throwing their trash on your place perpetually, is be rich enough in order to pay for the people to clear these people out yourself, because your tax dollars, even though they're absolutely insane in the city of New York, just don't cover those kind of services. And as you heard right there, you have sanitation occasionally coming by, getting rid of their debris, tossing that stuff out. You have the police sometimes clearing them out when these people go too far, but after a while, since there's no actual consequences, there's no way to force these potentially mentally ill, drug-addicted homeless people off of the streets and into some kind of jail and or treatment. These people just come back. They've made this place their own, and again, the property owners are the ones who are stuck constantly calling 911, constantly dealing with the cleanup, and we all know what the end result of this is. A tenant or somebody walking by is eventually going to get seriously physically assaulted or killed, and that is when they're going to all of a sudden say, okay, well, I guess we could charge with murder in this case, and who could have seen this coming? Who could have understood that this was a possibility? Nobody could have absolutely known, and if only we had more money for mental health, we would be able to have a solution for this. No, you could have intervened right now. You could have stopped this at this moment. You chose not to do so, so whatever consequences in terms of serious injury and or death that end up meeting this situation going forward are 100% on the New York City progressives.
City Hall told Pix 11 multiple city agencies have directed resources in response to quality of life concerns from residents of this location. However, each time the encampment has either been removed or the individuals vacate the space upon engagement.
So City Hall ends up releasing a statement saying, hey, we're totally dealing with this. In fact, every time there's a call and we actually deploy somebody to the scene, when we ask the people to leave or say you're going to be arrested if you don't leave, they vacate the space. And honestly, that is a solution, and we're totally monitoring the situation. We solve this. Oh wait, 20 seconds later, they're back in the same location. Oh, well, don't worry, we're monitoring this. And we're also going to deploy the Department of Homeless Services to make sure these people have clean needles and know all about their rights to fight back against unlawful eviction from this curb, because we really do love the innocent Beba Angel homeless people. And again, this is what happens when you take the teeth out of the law enforcement option. When you can't actually hold these people accountable, you can't actually criminally trespass them to lead to an arrest later, you end up in a situation where you're wasting police resources, having these people move only for them to come back 15 minutes later, and then you have to deploy the cops again when they get out of hand again, because this is the perpetual loop that you've decided to put your tax-paying New York residents in.
It vows to keep an eye on the eyesore, while DHS is working to offer them shelter.
So this is one of the things that really annoys me, which is, again, the Department of Homeless Services comes by and they offer them shelter repeatedly. These people refuse. They say, no, they're totally fine here. And for whatever reason, that is an acceptable option. For whatever reason, we just allow people to do that. And of course, the people who actually work and own this condo and live in this condo know what the solution is. They advocate for it, and guess what? That actually doesn't come up as an option.
But Lisa and Mark want the NYPD to enforce panhandling and loitering laws.
That's why they never leave 25th Street. They won't stay here. I mean, that's what I would think, because if you have no means of income, why would you stay?
So yeah, obviously these drug-addicted people are begging for money here in order to buy more drugs. The reason they don't take the shelters, in part, is because they're actually making a couple of bucks here and there by doing this kind of panhandling, and the NYPD doesn't enforce laws against it, because remember, those are small laws, and theoretically, it would cost more to enforce those laws than the results that you would get. But what actually ends up happening is you're wasting way more money temporarily moving these people, sending the Department of Homeless Services down time and time again to offer them shelter, when we have set up a system where these people in their whacked out drug addicted minds think that the better option for them is to stay, beg for money, get their next fix, and ruin the lives of the residents of this particular condo. Again, all of this could be fixed with a little stricter law enforcement, and yet these people are unwilling to do it. But you know what? Those are my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social media, support me via support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about madness in New York City. Till next time.